On a dark and stormy night, two unsavory men spotted a beautiful young woman and began to form unsavory intentions. As they reached out with grimy hands, she suddenly snapped awake, grabbed a nearby rock, and threw it at them with precision. She commanded them to leave, calling them jerks and sneering at their audacity, as though they could ever think of messing with her. One of the men clutched his face in pain, crying out that his eye had been struck. His accomplice, immobilized with fear, stammered in disbelief, admitting he had thought she was dead. The young woman stood up, radiating a faint golden glow, and snarled at them to keep their filthy hands off her. She demanded to know who had sent them. At that, the terrified man, visibly shaking, managed to blurt out that it was her sister, Lin Rua, who had given them their orders. She scoffed in response, kicking him to the ground and calling him a liar, remarking that she didn't even have a sister. As she watched them cower, she sneered and dismissed them as useless fools. Then, a strange sensation washed over her. She clearly remembered dying in a failed alchemy experiment, the fatal explosion vivid in her mind. She began to wonder how she could still be alive. Looking down, she noticed she was dressed in unfamiliar, modern clothing, with a faint aura of energy around her. Her surroundings were entirely foreign, nothing like the ancient forest continent she once knew. It felt like a different world. Suddenly, a sharp pain pierced her mind, bombarding her with fragmented memories of mistreatment and scorn. Shocked, she realized that these memories belonged to someone else. As she processed the situation, a realization dawned on her: she had been reincarnated. The irony struck her, and she sighed at the thought of such a cliched twist of fate happening to her. For someone as powerful as she, a descendant of the renowned Xiao Su clan, reincarnation felt almost insulting. Lin Sua found herself in disbelief at her new reality. As a top-tier prodigy with unparalleled strength across the ancient forest continent, she could hardly fathom how she'd been reincarnated into the body of a weak, frail girl. This new form was not only sickly and slow, but burdened with a difficult stepmother and a spiteful sister to boot. Inwardly, she reflected on her misfortune, feeling as though she had truly drawn the short straw as a heroine. Still, Lin Sua smirked, vowing that no one would dare call her foolish again. Anyone who dared scheme against her would face her wrath. She had no intention of letting a single one of them go unpunished. Confidently, she considered how playing dumb to deceive others was practically second nature to her. However, her newfound determination faltered when she felt her legs tremble uncontrollably. She realized, with alarm, that her whole body was rapidly weakening, her strength seemingly drained away. Lin Sua quickly deduced that this must have been the work of those men from earlier. They must have dosed her with something while she was unconscious. She knew she had to leave before the effects fully took hold. Meanwhile, on a nearby highway, a sleek black car raced forward. Inside, a man, sensing the urgency of the situation, remarked that they were still 5 kilometers away, asking if Bo Xiao could hold on. Bo Xiao, his face expressionless yet radiating a cold, menacing aura, replied curtly that there wasn't enough time. He instructed his driver to park farther away, intending to continue on foot. As Bo Xiao's agony intensified, Lin Sua, struggling through the forest, suddenly spotted the car as it pulled to a stop. Seizing her chance, she made her way over, managed to open the door, and pleaded with the man inside for assistance. She was met with a cold, penetrating glare, his eyes narrowed as if questioning her identity. Before Lin Sua could fully process the situation, the man's expression shifted. Without warning, he seized her and pulled her inside the vehicle, pinning her securely against him. Lin Sua found herself utterly taken aback by the man before her, struck by his breathtakingly handsome features and the sheer intensity of his powerful aura. Despite her initial shock, she soon realized she was held firmly in his grip, unable to offer any resistance. The man, whose name was Boqing Gang, demanded angrily to know who she was, his voice sharp and filled with suspicion. As she looked up at him with wide, startled eyes, Lin Sua noticed an icy energy emanating from him. This wasn't any ordinary chill, but the unmistakable effect of cold poison, a rare and highly dangerous toxin. It was widely known that those afflicted with cold poison experienced unimaginable agony during flare-ups, as though 1,000 arrows pierced their heart. She wondered in disbelief how he could have become infected with such a lethal substance. Growing more impatient with her silence as his symptoms seemed to worsen, Boqing Gang urged her to respond, asking once more, "Who sent you here?" This time, his tone carried a sense of urgency, as if his very survival depended on her answer. Realizing the severity of her own drug-induced symptoms intensifying in his proximity, Lin Suo hesitated, unsure of what to do. Suddenly, it became clear to her that his cold energy, a natural byproduct of cold poison, had helped neutralize the effects of the drug in her own system. A sly grin crossed her face as a mischievous idea took root. She reached out, seized his tie, and, leaning in close, murmured provocatively that he was just in time to soothe the fire raging within her. Before Boqing Gang could react, she pressed her lips to his, taking him by complete surprise. For the first time, he felt his face flush, startled by the boldness of her move. However, as their lips remained locked, he noticed an unusual sensation. The burning intensity of his cold poison seemed to ease, her touch somehow counteracting the pain. Intrigued and somewhat relieved, he pulled her closer, deepening the kiss. They remained locked in this intense moment, oblivious to everything else as they lost track of time. Finally, after what seemed an eternity, Lin Suo, breathless, pulled back and looked at Boqing Gang, now soundly asleep. To her surprise, the kiss had left him calm and resting peacefully. He actually fell asleep, she thought, marveling at the unexpected outcome of their encounter. After their passionate battle, she felt the drug's effects dissipate at last. Surveying herself, she noticed her clothes were torn from the intensity of their encounter, and a wave of exasperation washed over her as she wondered what to do next. Her gaze drifted toward Boqing Gang, who was now peacefully sleeping beside her, and an amused thought crossed her mind. She reached over, grabbed one of his shirts, and slipped it on, sticking her tongue out at him playfully as she mused to herself that after such a prolonged kiss, he at least owed her a shirt. Her eyes inadvertently lingered on his defined abs, momentarily captivated by his physique despite her years of experience as a doctor. She thought with mild exasperation that he could tempt anyone to misbehave, but she reminded herself that this wasn't the time to be admiring abs. With a smirk, she grabbed a pen from the car and scribbled a message on his face. Muttering softly, she noted aloud that the cold poison was rare and, as a healer with special abilities, she couldn't ignore it completely. She promised herself that she would repay this unusual debt someday, then departed confidently. Later, trudging through the forest, Lin Suo felt utterly exhausted. Each step grew heavier, her energy nearly depleted. Frustrated, she wondered if this body was truly so frail, worrying that at this pace, she wouldn't last long enough to seek revenge, she might perish of dehydration before she even found a way out. Exhausted, Lin Suo slumped down against a tree, her thoughts spiraling with regret as she mentally chastised herself for not taking Boqing Gang's car while he was asleep. She reasoned that he likely wouldn't have noticed, and running off in a stolen car would surely have been preferable to being stranded in the forest. As her frustration simmered, a faint clinking noise from a nearby bush caught her attention. Her initial thought was one of disbelief, wondering if it could possibly be a shower, an absurd idea that filled her with confusion. But, upon peering closer, she saw the source clearly, a small relic she remembered studying prior to her rebirth, a piece she never imagined would follow her into this life. Just then, the relic began to glow, emitting a dazzling golden light so intense that she had to shut her eyes. When she reopened them, she was stunned to find herself in a mysterious, mystical realm. Her astonishment quickly gave way to excitement, as she marveled at what seemed to be a sign that the universe hadn't entirely forgotten her. It was as if she had been granted a golden cheat, something far more potent and authentic than any of the magical trinkets she'd encountered before. Scanning her surroundings, her gaze fell upon a glimmering object in a nearby tree. With a quick flick of her wrist, she tossed a small stone at it, successfully dislodging a magical fruit known as beauty fruit. She knew of its powerful effects. It could not only enhance one's beauty but also had slimming and toning properties. Holding the lustrous fruit, Lin Suo grinned, convinced that with the essence of the sun and moon stored within, consuming it would undoubtedly amplify her strength. Eagerly, she took a substantial bite. Almost instantly, a brilliant golden light enveloped her, and she felt an overwhelming surge of energy coursing through her body. Her skin became smooth and radiant, her wounds healed instantly, and even her fingernails sparkled with vitality. Lin Suo touched her now transformed face, exhilarated to find her vision remarkably clear. She could now perceive details at a distance of 100 meters, and sounds that had once escaped her, like the subtle chirping of birds and the soft hum of insects, were now acutely audible. Emerging from the mystical realm, she glanced up, noting that only dawn had begun to break. Reflecting on the time she had spent within, she realized that although she felt as if she had rested for several hours, the outside world had barely shifted. She deduced that time flowed differently within the divine space, and holding the relic, she felt confident that regaining her full powers was now simply a matter of time. As she steeled herself for her next steps, a cunning smile spread across her face, signaling her determination to harness the relic's power. Simultaneously, in a lavish mansion elsewhere, Boqing Gang looked on, bewildered, as one of his attendants rushed in, addressing him with palpable urgency. The man called out, anxiously asking after Boqing Gang's condition and questioning if something had gone wrong. Brushing off the concern with irritation, Boqing Gang curtly dismissed the assistant, who, despite the response, began to weep, distraught by the sudden resurgence of Boqing Gang's symptoms, which usually only surfaced once a month but had mysteriously reappeared in half that time. As the assistant looked on tearfully, Dr. Ouyang Luo entered the room, prompting the assistant to beg him to check on Boqing Gang. Dr. Ouyang Luo, however, simply chuckled, making light of the situation and remarking sarcastically that the poison's excruciating effects seemed fitting for a man with Boqing Gang's icy demeanor. This remark caused Boqing Gang to clench his jaw, visibly restraining his temper. Dr. Ouyang Luo, undeterred by the reaction, withdrew a large needle and assured the room that, as a 233rd-generation successor of the Golden Star medical sect, he had no intention of letting Boqing Gang succumb to his illness. Upon examining Boqing Gang's test results, Dr. Ouyang Luo's expression shifted, eyes widening in surprise. He demanded to know if he had been taking any medicine without informing him. Boqing Gang responded sharply, questioning where he could possibly find any medication in such an isolated location. Dr. Ouyang Luo then pointed out, with evident confusion, that his toxin levels were abnormally low, even lower than when he administered the antidote to him. Hearing this, Boqing Gang felt a surge of astonishment and immediately thought of a certain bold woman. He turned away, recalling how, ever since her unexpected appearance the previous night, the poison in his body seemed to have subsided mysteriously, and for once, he hadn't endured the usual excruciating pain from the toxin. Meanwhile, Wen Yang, his assistant, voiced his growing dread, suggesting almost hysterically that Boqing Gang might be haunted by some ghostly woman. Dr. Ouyang Luo stared at him, perplexed, as Wen Yang elaborated, claiming that when he had arrived the previous evening, he'd found Boqing Gang in a disheveled state with suspicious marks on his neck and blood-written characters on his face, almost like a curse. Gripped by panic, Wen Yang clung to Dr. Ouyang Luo's coat, lamenting that their master, already burdened by the icy poison afflicting him since childhood, now seemed to be under some ghostly spell. Just as Dr. Ouyang Luo began to feel faint from Wen Yang's frantic shaking, Boqing Gang abruptly rose to his feet, his gaze filled with fierce resolve. Wen Yang, taken aback, nervously grabbed a nearby coat and hesitantly asked where his master was headed. Without hesitation, Boqing Gang donned his coat, adjusting his tie with a chilling determination, and announced that the time had come for him to confront a certain shameless little sister who had not only betrayed her sibling by stealing her fiancé but also dared to flaunt their engagement. With a dangerous calm, he declared that it was time to help the elder sister deal with these contemptible figures. At the Imperial Tower, the engagement banquet for Lin Ruo and Song Yuanji was in full swing. Lin Ruo leaned against Song Yuanji, feigning innocence as she asked if he would hold it against her since this celebration had originally been intended for her sister's engagement. With a dismissive sneer, Song Yuanji retorted that Lin Suo, her sister, was nothing compared to her, going as far as to call her a foolish woman who didn't even deserve his attention. If not for the long-standing alliance between their families, he remarked, he wouldn't have given Lin Suo a second thought, suggesting she was beneath him. The pair then began to plot ways to torment Lin Suo, with Lin Ruo smirking as she nestled in his arms, her expression hardening with malicious intent. She coldly outlined her plan, describing how she had arranged for thugs to brutalize her sister. Once finished, they were to render her blind and deaf before selling her off in a distant village as a bride to an old and unscrupulous man. According to Lin Rua, even Lin Sua's cleverest tricks wouldn't allow her to escape this fate. Mockingly, she suggested that Lin Sua might be better off ending her own life, perhaps hoping for a new chance in the next one where she might be worthy enough to challenge her. But as Lin Rua savored her scheme, her satisfaction was abruptly interrupted when a glass flew toward her, striking her head and causing her to yelp in pain. Shocked and furious, she demanded to know who had dared to assault her. In response, Lin Sua emerged, her gaze icy as she confronted her sister. Stunned, Lin Rua could only gape, stammering in disbelief as she demanded to know how Lin Sua was there. In a tone laced with bitter irony, Lin Sua responded that she had merely come to celebrate her little sister's engagement to her own fiancé, playing on the idea of sisterly bonding with a chilling air. The change in Lin Sua's demeanor left Lin Rua sweating nervously. This wasn't the weak or foolish woman she had expected, but someone transformed, exuding a powerful and unsettling aura. Around them, guests murmured with interest, exchanging theories about Lin Sua's unexpected presence. They wondered aloud, speculating if Lin Sua, whom they had always dismissed as a simpleton, might have been stirred into awareness by the shock of losing her fiancé. The buzz centered around the notion of two sisters in conflict over the same man, adding to the drama and intrigue of the scene. Noticing this reaction, Lin Rua clenched her fists tightly, grinding her teeth in concealed fury as she thought to herself that the attention and the spotlight were meant for her alone. Determined not to let Lin Sua steal Song Yuanji from her, she swiftly composed herself and adopted an expression of vulnerability. Looking up at her sister with wide, tearful eyes, she asked in an innocent tone, "Sister, what brings you here all of a sudden?" Lin Sua, however, saw right through her act. Narrowing her eyes, she let out a mocking laugh and retorted with icy disdain, dismissing Lin Rua's feigned innocence. She told her sister that pretending to be a princess would never mask the stench of her deceit. The guests, meanwhile, watched in suspense, wondering how Lin Sua would handle her sister's cunning next. They had only witnessed the beginning of the unfolding rivalry between the two. But Lin Sua, already attuned to her sister's manipulative ways, stared back with an icy glare. With a knowing smirk, she mocked Lin Rua, saying that it was an odd question. Was there something her younger sister had been keeping from her? Lin Rua gasped, her face turning pale, and she quickly waved her hands in denial, stammering that she had simply thought Lin Sua wouldn't attend since she hadn't come home the previous night. Before Lin Sua could respond, Song Yuanji, her former fiancé, who had shown himself to be unsympathetic, abruptly interjected, accusing Lin Sua of creating a scene if she hadn't intended to come to the engagement party in the first place. Observing the heated exchange, Lin Rua seized the opportunity to play the victim and flung herself dramatically into Song Yuanji's arms, feigning tears. Feeling emboldened by her display, Song Yuanji sneered at Lin Sua, accusing her of trying to reinsert herself into his family's life after abandoning him. He claimed that she had lost her chance and should give up any hope of reclaiming a place with them. Lin Sua responded with a dismissive laugh, her tone cool and unwavering. She asked who he thought he was to assume she had any interest in being engaged to him at all, reminding him that she had never expressed a desire to marry him in the first place. Unfazed by his attitude, she took a seat with composed elegance, propping her head on one hand as she announced that she had come merely to extend her congratulations to the newly engaged couple. Her calm demeanor left the pair momentarily speechless. Then, in a further act of defiance, Lin Sua handed them a gift bearing a sharp-witted couplet, "Green tea girls are forever" on one line and toads and their love spread as wide as the seas on the other. With a sly smile, she directed everyone's attention to a bold banner she'd arranged, which read, "Trashy Guy and Two-Faced Girl." The sight sent both Lin Rua and Song Yuanji into a near frenzy of anger, humiliated by Lin Sua's audacious display. Struggling to maintain her composure, Lin Rua's face twisted with rage before she quickly transitioned into a tearful expression, trying to play the role of the wronged younger sister. She whined that Lin Sua was being unfairly cruel to her, insisting that it had been Lin Sua's decision to end her engagement with Song Yuanji, leaving her no choice but to take on the engagement herself. To bolster her performance, Lin Rua dramatically produced a photograph and held it up for the guests, a triumphant gleam in her eyes. She claimed it was evidence that her sister had been with another man, explaining that this was the real reason behind Lin Sua's disinterest in marrying Song Yuenji. The image showed Lin Sua in an unconscious state, and as Lin Ru pointed to it, the gathered guests gasped in shock, their expressions mirroring their outrage. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as they criticized Lin Sua's alleged betrayal, condemning her behavior given her supposed engagement to young Master Song. Lin Sua responded with a theatrical shrug, casting an exasperated look at the crowd. She remarked dryly that it was merely a makeup-free photo and questioned if it really proved anything significant. Addressing her sister directly with a smirk, she pointed out that Lin Ru had yet to overcome her habit of secretly taking photos of her, so it only made sense that Lin Sua had captured some candid moments of her sister as well. With a nonchalant gesture, Lin Sua tossed a handful of photos into the air. Lin Ru, visibly shocked, froze, her mouth agape as the photos drifted down. Hearing the crowd's murmurs, she clutched Song Yuenji's arm frantically, pleading with him not to believe the nonsense, insisting that the photos had to be fake and likely edited. She begged for his trust, her tone desperate. Surprisingly, Song Yuenji remained silent for a moment before sighing and reassuring her, much to everyone's astonishment, that he still believed in her, no matter what. This declaration left the onlookers gasping, marveling at the situation unfolding before them. In hushed whispers, they expressed their disbelief, remarking on the audacity of Song Yuenji assuming Lin Ru was the one he had truly wanted, despite the evidence that his current fiancée was cheating on him. Meanwhile, Lin Sua's father, Lin Aoqian, was far from pleased with her sudden appearance. Fixing her with a furious glare, he harshly condemned her actions, calling her a disgrace to the family and accusing her of tarnishing the Lin family's honor by interrupting the event. In a fit of rage, he raised his hand as if to strike her, but Lin Sua swiftly caught his wrist, meeting his anger with defiance. Enraged and flustered, Lin Aoqian's face flushed, and he roared his disbelief at her boldness, lamenting that he could scarcely recognize her as his daughter. Known for caring more about his reputation than her well-being, he had been indifferent when she hadn't come home, more concerned with his public image than his role as a father. Pointing a trembling finger toward the door, he demanded she leave at once to avoid further disgrace. At that moment, the door swung open, drawing everyone's attention, as a man with a commanding and magnetic presence stepped into the room. Lin Sua recognized him immediately, and, judging by the crowd's reaction, so did everyone else. The girls in the crowd could hardly contain their excitement, murmuring in disbelief as they recognized the newcomer. They swooned over Boqing Gang, marveling at his looks and charisma, remarking that he surpassed every other man in the room by far. Known as the youngest heir and a formidable figure in the business world, Boqing Gang was both revered and envied. His reputation as a sharp and distant personality made him an unattainable dream for many, yet the women around him seemed completely enthralled. Noticing their reactions, his assistant chuckled, clearly proud, and wryly commented that if he weren't a man, he might be tempted to marry Boqing Gang himself. Unamused by the sudden shift in attention, Song Yuenji erupted in anger, shouting furiously and questioning Boqing Gang's right to intrude, given that he had rented out the entire hall. He demanded that Boqing Gang leave, asserting his authority. However, Boqing Gang's assistant immediately responded with a steely tone, ordering the crowd to back away and make room for his young master. Song Yuenji, suddenly feeling the gravity of the situation, faltered, breaking into a nervous sweat. Lin Aoqian also reacted swiftly, rushing forward to greet Boqing Gang with deference. Apologetically, he expressed his regret at not having known of Boqing Gang's arrival, insisting that he would have personally ensured a proper welcome. Yet Boqing Gang dismissed both men's gestures, advancing directly toward Lin Ru and Lin Sua. Misinterpreting his approach, Lin Ru's heart leaped as she boldly asked if he had come solely for her. In response, Boqing Gang's expression darkened, and he ordered her to step aside, making it clear she was merely obstructing his path. As he moved past her, Lin Ru was left stunned, watching as Boqing Gang closed the distance to Lin Sua, whose shock was visible as she froze, seemingly unsure of how to respond. With a cool intensity, he stopped before her, his gaze unwavering, and asked if she remembered him, leaving Lin Sua to mask her nerves with a strained smile as she internally considered feigning ignorance in hopes of escaping the confrontation. The bystanders around them broke into laughter, remarking with derision that Lin Rua had seriously believed the young master was there just for her. They found the idea amusing, mocking her as delusional for assuming she stood a chance. Fuming internally, Lin Rua's anger simmered as she pondered how Boqing Gang could possibly be interested in what she considered a worthless woman. She vowed to herself that she would not allow her sister to gain any further ground with him. Attempting to sow doubt, she sneered with feigned innocence, suggesting to Boqing Gang that her sister had a suspiciously busy social life, especially with male friends. Boqing Ang's expression turned icy as he met her gaze and gave a sardonic thank you for her unsolicited advice. Then, to the crowd's shock, he disclosed that he was the very friend who had been with her sister the night before. The revelation stunned everyone, and even his assistant was momentarily taken aback. A murmur spread through the crowd, with someone incredulously questioning whether Boqing Gang had really spent the entire night with Lin Sua, hinting at an underlying connection between them. Hearing this, Lin Ruth clenched her jaw, barely containing her frustration. Meanwhile, Boqing Ang's assistant, catching on to the situation, chuckled and playfully noted that it seemed their famously aloof, 23 years single boss had finally found someone to warm up to. Out in the hallway, Lin Sua sharply questioned Boqing Gang, clearly upset over the impression he had just left on the crowd. She demanded to know why he had spoken in such a misleading way, suggesting their relationship was something it wasn't. Boqing Gang responded with a soft chuckle, asking if, after the events of the previous night, she really believed there was still any misunderstanding to be had. His remark left her momentarily stunned as the memories of her own bold actions surfaced. She had impulsively kissed him, and in a moment of daring spontaneity, even removed his shirt. Her cheeks flushed at the recollection. Seeing her reaction, Boqing Gang offered a sly, knowing smile, assuring her that he remembered every single detail of their encounter. Lin Sua, her heart racing under his intense gaze, tried to regain her composure, reminding herself she had faced tougher situations. Adopting an air of casual indifference, she suggested that their interaction the previous night had been a one-time occurrence and offered her assistance should he ever need it, hoping that would settle the matter between them. However, Boqing Gang only seemed more intrigued, his stare never wavering. Lightly tilting her chin up, he asked with a smirk how exactly she intended to repay him. Then, without waiting for a response, he leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper as he hinted that, since she had been the one to initiate things, it was only fair that he take his turn. Before Lin Sua could react, he pressed his lips to hers, catching her off guard. Taken entirely by surprise, she initially resisted, though her protests were subdued. Noticing her reaction, Boqing Gang gave a brief, almost teasing apology, claiming the kiss was only a joke and urging her not to take it seriously. Undeterred, Lin Sua met his challenge with defiance, grabbing his tie and pulling him down to her level, returning the kiss with equal boldness. Boqing Gang appeared momentarily taken aback by Lin Sua's boldness, his face an intriguing mix of surprise and amusement. She shot him a calm, confident look, her voice laced with a hint of mockery as she pointed out that if he hadn't noticed, she typically took the lead. With that remark, she pivoted on her heel and strode away, leaving him with the parting offer to let her know if he ever thought of a real way for her to repay him. As she disappeared from sight, Boqing Ang's hand absently brushed his lips, his expression a mix of intrigue and admiration as he muttered to himself about what an interesting girl she was. As Lin Sua left, she folded her arms, a sly smile creeping across her face as she reflected that he wasn't the only one who could embody the aura of a self-assured CEO. Internally, she mused that, having read countless stories like this, she knew exactly how to hold her own, adding with a chuckle, Boqing Gang, little brother, you still have a long way to go. Meanwhile, Boqing Ang's sharp voice sliced through the quiet, his gaze fixed directly on a hidden spot as he demanded to know if the man had seen enough and if he was coming out. Ouyang Luo stepped forward with a chuckle, clearly amused as he observed Boqing Ang's actions. He remarked with a hint of teasing in his tone, speculating aloud about that story behind the girl Boqing Gang had just been with, adding that Boqing Ang's dramatic entrance might have led anyone to think he was about to propose. In response, Boqing Gang rolled his eyes and questioned whether Ouyang Luo hadn't overheard the exchange himself. Deciding he'd had enough of this banter, he requested Ouyang Luo to focus on checking his toxin levels instead. Following a swift examination, Ouyang Luo expressed genuine surprise, noting that Boqing Gang's toxin levels had remarkably decreased since that morning. With a look of intrigue, he suggested that this girl might indeed be acting as a living antidote for Boqing Gang. He explained that, despite years of research and attempts to counteract the toxin within Boqing Gang's system, he had found no effective remedy, yet now, after a single kiss from her, the toxin seemed to have lessened. Ouyang Luo adjusted his glasses, an amused grin spreading across his face as he mused that if a simple kiss had proven beneficial, then something more intimate might potentially lead to a complete cure. This suggestion caught Boqing Gang off guard, leaving him momentarily speechless. Meanwhile, Lin Suo returned to the Lin family mansion, where she was met by her stepmother's deceptive smile. Lin Suo eyed the woman with suspicion, fully aware of her past. This woman had once been nothing more than a housemaid in the family home, but during Lin Suo's mother's pregnancy, she had seduced Lin Aotian. Following her mother's untimely death, she had moved into the house as his new wife. Lin Suo knew all too well the depths of her stepmother's cruelty. Under the guise of innocent affection, her stepmother exploited Lin Aotian's trust and subjected Lin Suo to relentless torment, including secret physical abuse. One particularly vile act involved placing needles in Lin Suo's bed as a painful trick. Her malice was unmatched, surpassing even the worst villains in any drama. And Lin Suo's seemingly innocent younger sister began playing the helpless victim daily, painting herself as a target of Lin Suo's supposed cruelty and parading around the Lin home with an air of entitlement. This charade led to Lin Suo being blamed and punished repeatedly. She couldn't help but note the parallels between mother and daughter, both adept at presenting a falsely sweetheart image. Now, aware of their true nature, Lin Suo wore a knowing grin, resolved to exact some measure of justice. If she was going to handle them, she mused, it might as well be memorable. With that, Lin Suo approached her father, Lin Aotian, with a request. He greeted her warmly, all smiles, and readily assured her that whatever she desired would be hers. However, his thoughts betrayed him as he considered the potential benefits of maintaining a good relationship with Boqing Gang, given Lin Suo's influential connections. Feigning innocence, Lin Suo expressed her desire for a more comfortable room, explaining that the attic felt cramped. Lin Aotian, momentarily abashed, assured her that she could have her pick of any room she liked. Guided by her newfound resolve, Lin Suo made her way to her sister Lin Ruo's room, immediately met by an overwhelming display of pink decor, stuffed pandas, a pink vanity, and all. Although she found the decor distastefully excessive, she hid her reaction, adopting a contemplative expression before declaring that the room would suit her perfectly. Lin Aotian, eager to please, was quick to agree, affirming that it was hers as long as she was satisfied. Lin Ruo, in disbelief, seethed with anger at Lin Suo's audacity for claiming her room. She convinced herself that it was only a matter of time before her father would indulge her, as he always did, with just a small display of innocence and reluctance. With feigned reluctance, she expressed how she was accustomed to the room but would yield if her sister truly insisted. To her shock, Lin Aotian, rather than appeasing her, sternly instructed her to assist Lin Suo in packing and not to delay. Lin Ruo was left speechless, unable to comprehend how things could take such an unexpected turn. Meanwhile, Lin Suo felt triumphant, finally embracing her role in challenging her sister's manipulative facade. She observed Lin Aotian's doting behavior toward her and, capitalizing on the moment, remarked with an almost wistful expression that she found Aunt Wang's room decor particularly beautiful and wished for it. Lin Aotian, eager to please, immediately promised to fulfill her request, much to Aunt Wang's dismay. Aunt Wang, barely concealing her anxiety, laughed it off, trying to dismiss Lin Suo's interest as misguided and hoping her hidden valuables remained undiscovered. Internally, she was in a frenzy, calculating her next move to ensure her secrets remained safe. At that moment, a servant entered and informed Lin Aotian that they had found something under the bed. They returned sooner than anticipated, holding a hideous frog-shaped trinket. Lin Suo's expression brightened as she eagerly confirmed that it was indeed the object she had been looking for. Clutching it in her hands, she then accidentally dropped the trinket, which shattered upon hitting the ground, revealing a hidden compartment inside. Lin Aotian's eyes widened in shock, while Aunt Wang appeared as if she had seen a ghost. Lin Suo fixed her gaze on Aunt Wang, her expression daring her to react as she remarked with feigned innocence, questioning if it was a hidden stash of money. Aunt Wang stammered, attempting to explain herself, but Lin Aoqian swiftly interrupted her with a slap, furious at her betrayal. He berated her, accusing her of ingratitude and suggesting that she might be saving the money for some secret affair. Enraged, he ordered his servants to fetch his whip, and despite Aunt Wang's pleas for mercy, her punishment proceeded without reprieve. Lin Suo watched the scene unfold with a cold detachment, recalling how Lin Aoqian had once exploited her mother, Lan Qingqiu, using her family's wealth to support Aunt Wang, his mistress, before ultimately seizing the Lan family's fortune for himself. For Lin Aoqian, money had always been paramount, and he would not tolerate anyone hoarding funds without his knowledge. Lin Suo knew that if there was a way to strike back, it would be by hitting someone where it hurt the most. In the cold, damp basement where Lin Ruo had forced Lin Suo to live, the dim light revealed cobwebs hanging from every corner and rats scurrying around. Lin Suo moved closer, her expression smug, and taunted Lin Ruo with a low, menacing tone. She sneered, remarking that since Lin Ruo always seemed eager to take whatever she left behind, she should feel right at home in such miserable surroundings. As Lin Suo's words hung in the air, Lin Ruo could feel her anger building, her whole body shaking with rage. Silently, she cursed Lin Suo, seething at the injustice of constantly being trampled upon, vowing that she would not allow this treatment to continue. Soon after, upstairs, Aunt Wang sat nursing her swollen face after the beating, her cheeks puffed and bruised. The servants, wary of Lin Aoqian's temper flaring again, advised her to stay quiet, lest she provoke him further. Lin Ruo, seeing her mother's condition, muttered her frustration with her father's volatile nature. Aunt Wang, however, was still simmering with resentment and quickly placed the blame on Lin Suo. She confided to her daughter that she had managed to deceive Lin Aoqian by claiming the hidden money was merely a gift from her family, which, she believed, had averted even harsher consequences. Just then, Lin Ruo made a surprising announcement. She declared that she no longer wished to marry Song Yuanji. Her mother, shocked, reminded her of her former infatuation with him, to which Lin Ruo replied with a pout and a few forced tears. She explained that her feelings had changed since meeting Boqing Gang, a man she described as far more attractive, wealthy, and interesting than Song Yuanji. The situation had shifted once again, from Aunt Wang stealing Lin Suo's mother's fiancé to Lin Ruo now setting her sights on Lin Suo's new boyfriend, a man of considerable power and influence. Both mother and daughter exchanged smirks, their faces twisting with contempt. Aunt Wang, placing a reassuring hand on her daughter's shoulder, promised that she would help her find a way to handle that little brat Lin Suo. Meanwhile, Lin Suo, having finally expended all her energy, had transformed her room from an overly decorated, gaudy space into a neat, minimalist haven. She sank onto her couch, sighing with satisfaction as she admired the improved look, remarking to herself that the room appeared vastly better now. As she relaxed, a new idea dawned on her. To establish her reputation for the future, she mused, she should begin with something professional, her own business card. She started to sketch out ideas, murmuring that the card needed flair and style, and couldn't afford to tarnish her reputation. Adding a playful touch, she even considered including a self-portrait for emphasis. Though she completed the card quickly, Lin Suo felt a lingering sense of dissatisfaction, unable to pinpoint what was missing. Laughing sheepishly, she thought aloud that she could use some feedback to improve it. The next morning, as she passed through the gates of Incheon University, Lin Suo caught the attention of the male students, who gazed at her in awe. They speculated whether she might be a new campus beauty as they watched her confident stride, bubble gum in her mouth, and a nonchalant demeanor. Just then, a basketball came flying toward her, but without hesitation, she punched it right back into the hands of its stunned thrower. His shock was mirrored by the onlookers, who became instant admirers, marveling at her quick reflexes and skill, wondering if they could even match such prowess. Back in the classroom, Lin Suo's classmates were deeply engrossed in gossip, eagerly discussing recent events involving Lin Suo. They claimed that this clueless idiot had seemingly undergone an overnight transformation, not only becoming flirtatious but also brazenly crashing his own sister's wedding. The conversation halted abruptly, however, when the classroom door swung open to reveal Lin Suo. she strode in confidently, hands in her pockets, and, with a fierce tone, remarked that it had been a long time, adding that it was always those seated in the back who seemed to have the most to say. Her assertive entrance silenced the room, and nobody dared to retort. But soon after, a boy with dyed green hair, oblivious to the tension, stepped in front of her. With a smug expression, he insinuated that he had heard about Lin Sua's recent escapades outside of school, hinting she'd been running around with all kinds of guys. Smirking, he suggested that perhaps she should consider giving the schoolboys a thrill as well. Lin Sua, unperturbed, scoffed at him, remarking that he likely wouldn't be able to keep up with her. Offended, he retorted indignantly, challenging her by insisting he was in perfect health. Amused, Lin Sua grabbed his wrist to check his pulse and, with a playful laugh, claimed that he seemed to be experiencing symptoms like frequent urination and urgency, even suggesting it might be happening as often as 7 times a day. His expression shifted from smugness to shock as he stammered in disbelief, protesting that her assessment was impossible. Yet, he couldn't deny to himself that she was oddly accurate, as he had indeed been spending a significant amount of time in the bathroom recently. This revelation amused the surrounding classmates, who burst into laughter and added their own playful jabs, causing this guy to feel humiliated and enraged. Unable to contain his anger, he attempted to charge at Lin Sua. Remaining calm, she swiftly grabbed a handful of his hair and gave it a light tug. To the astonishment of everyone present, chunks of his supposedly thick green hair came loose, leaving him with just a few sparse strands. Feigning shock, Lin Sua had gasped, expressing mock concern by saying it was already that bad and warning that without treatment, green-haired boy would soon be bald. Smiling mischievously, she had then claimed to be the apprentice of a miracle healer and offered him a solution, even promising a 20% discount as a favor between classmates. She had handed him a business card, prompting laughter from the onlookers. Overwhelmed with embarrassment and anger, green-haired boy had stormed out of the classroom. After school, Lin Sua, glancing at her phone's map, murmured to herself that the place should be nearby when she spotted a familiar figure, green hair himself, anxiously clutching a pile of medicine and muttering his irritation aloud. He grumbled that if it hadn't been for Lin Sua, he wouldn't have needed to see a Chinese doctor, and his little secret wouldn't be school gossip. While he was distracted, green-haired boy bumped into something and snapped in irritation, demanding to know who wasn't watching their step. Lin Sua had greeted him with a friendly smile, playfully calling him seaweed, and adding that she needed to be extra welcoming to potential clients. His face reddened with anger as he demanded to know who had allowed her to give him a nickname. Lin Sua chuckled at his annoyance, teasing that his irritability was only making his hair loss worse. At this, his face grew even redder, clearly furious. He accused her of spreading rumors about him at school and warned that he wouldn't let her get away with it this time. He had raised his hand, intending to teach Lin Sua a lesson, but before he could follow through, someone caught it mid-air. Green-haired boy spun around, prepared for a fight, but his bravado quickly dissolved into terror as he froze at the sight before him. The intensity of the figure's presence sent chills down his spine, leaving even Lin Sua momentarily taken aback, wondering aloud why this person was here. With a deadly glare, Boqing Gang fixed his gaze on green-haired boy and warned him coldly, giving him precisely 1 second to disappear unless he wanted to regret it. Pale and visibly shaken, green-haired boy stammered his agreement, fumbling with his belongings as he dashed off, his wig nearly slipping off in his haste. Lin Sua, rubbing her head thoughtfully, mused to herself that the situation felt strangely familiar, as if she'd experienced it before. Boqing Gang, meanwhile, observed her with a hint of worry and asked if she was all right. Lin Sua merely shrugged, reassuring him with a smile that nothing could possibly happen to her, though she did express her thanks for his intervention. Then, with a casual tone, she mentioned her inability to fully neutralize the poison in him just yet. Suddenly, Boqing Gang's demeanor shifted. Without warning, he pinned her against the wall, his eyes intense with curiosity and suspicion as he demanded to know how she had known he was poisoned. Only a few close confidants were aware of the cold poison within him, and her knowledge was unsettling. Lin Sua, unfazed, simply blinked innocently, claiming it was perfectly normal for a doctor to know these things. Pushing him back lightly, she raised an eyebrow and teased, suggesting it was rather bold of him to get so close and asking if he wasn't worried she might call the police. Caught off guard by her audacity, Boqing Gang felt his face grow warm, surprised at how his heart seemed to race every time he was near her. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, he recalled a remark from Ouyang Luo and playfully brought it up, musing that if a simple kiss could help mitigate the poison, wouldn't something more intimate potentially cure it completely? He chuckled at the idea, and Lin Suo's lack of restraint clearly testing his patience. Boqing Gang leaned in closer to Lin Suo, a smirk playing on his lips as he challenged her, suggesting she try calling the cops if she dared. He questioned if she knew what a hungry wolf did when it encountered a defenseless rabbit, hinting that it would leave nothing behind. As he inched toward her, Lin Suo felt her heartbeat quicken, his nearness almost overwhelming. She could catch the faint scent of his cologne and hear the strong beat of his heart, realizing with a start that she might actually be falling for him. For Boqing Gang, the experience was equally surprising. He hadn't expected to feel such a rush just by being close to her. Lin Suo was startled by his proximity, sensing his strong presence and wondering if he had a habit of invading others' personal space. She instinctively raised her hand to push him away, only for Boqing Gang to intercept it, holding her firmly as he looked into her eyes. He told her with confidence that she wasn't as sly as she thought and that he wouldn't fall for the same tricks twice. In response, Lin Suo met his gaze with a smirk, letting a sly grin cross her lips as she taunted him, suggesting that he might have seen her as an easy target. She warned him, however, that she was the kind of rabbit that bit back. Catching him off guard, she suddenly kneed him in the stomach, making him flinch and cry out in pain. Boqing Gang was stunned by her audacity, wondering who this woman was who never seemed to follow any rules. With a mischievous smile, Lin Suo added one last taunt, pointing out that while he might dislike falling for the same trick, she didn't enjoy coming out on the losing end. As she turned to leave, she waved cheerfully and mentioned in a casual tone that she had to go, saying she had places to be and herbs to buy, leaving him standing there in surprise. As Lin Suo was about to make her exit, Boqing Gang called after her, his face adopting an unexpectedly sincere expression. He apologized for his earlier behavior and asked if she would consider allowing him the chance to make amends. Surprised, Lin Suo turned back to look at him, her eyes narrowing slightly in confusion. However, when her gaze fell upon the bags filled with various herbal ingredients he had gathered, her eyes began to sparkle with intrigue. She marveled at the sight, exclaiming in astonishment over the assortment, wondering aloud if all of it was really intended for her. Boqing Gang responded with a proud smile and asked if she wanted even more, offering to add rare, high-quality items like premium ginseng, top-grade deer antler, and the most elusive spirit herbs as part of his gesture. His ability to apologize in such a grand manner clearly impressed her. Lin Suo, visibly thrilled, remarked on the sheer extravagance of his offerings, jesting that the wealthy truly seemed to live in a world of glitter and gold. Accepting his gift with a smirk, she commented that she'd be foolish to turn down such a generous gesture. Then, with a tone of assurance, she promised to address the icy poison in his body, vowing to find a way to cure it. She remarked that it was only fair to return the favor when someone was treating her so well. Boqing Gang's expression softened, his eyes brightening at her words. With a glint of curiosity, he asked if she was genuinely willing to do whatever it took to cure him, probing her commitment. Lin Suo answered without hesitation, affirming her willingness with confidence. Satisfied with her response, Boqing Gang offered a faint smile, expressing his thanks in advance. As Lin Suo departed, unaware of the commitment she had just made, Boqing Gang watched her retreating figure with amusement. Ouyang Luo, who had been observing the exchange with a smirk, broke the silence by teasing Boqing Gang, noting his lingering gaze on her even after she had left. Turning serious, Boqing Gang reminded Ouyang Luo of his earlier mention that Lin Suo's healing abilities were influenced by the closeness she shared with the person she intended to heal, seeking confirmation on whether this was true. Ouyang Luo responded with a shrug and a grin, suggesting there was only one way to truly find out if Lin Suo's abilities were indeed influenced by the closeness she felt toward the one she healed. At Ouyang Luo's remark, Boqing Gang suddenly gripped his shoulder, his determination clear. He agreed emphatically, stating that they needed to put this theory to the test. Caught off guard, Ouyang Luo widened his eyes and hesitated, then asked if Boqing Gang was seriously considering robbing the cradle, implying the boldness of his intentions. Boqing Gang was momentarily surprised by the insinuation, while Ouyang Luo chuckled and advised him to be cautious, warning that if he took advantage and then left her, karma would inevitably find its way back to him. In response, Boqing Gang gave his friend a look of exasperation, internally dismissing him as an idiot. Steering the conversation away from Ouyang Luo's comments, Boqing Gang shifted the focus by asking if the Angel's Kiss ring was still in Europe. The question piqued Ouyang Luo's curiosity, and his expression lit up as he recalled the precious heirloom diamond ring from Boqing Gang's family. With a playful smirk, Ouyang Luo questioned whether Boqing Gang was seriously planning to take that bold step. Boqing Gang interrupted him before he could finish, speaking with a tone of finality. He asserted that he was fully committed, and if he intended to pursue this course, he would do so with complete responsibility. The following morning, Lin Sua sat alone on a school bench, engrossed in an encyclopedia on 21st century science and technology. As she skimmed through the pages, she marveled at the advancements, medicine, information technology, and more. She reflected inwardly, realizing how vast the modern world's knowledge was compared to her own time and mentally noting the challenges of catching up. Her quiet moment was interrupted by a mocking voice from behind. Lin Rua, loudly speculating as to whom Lin Sua was trying to impress by reading, questioning if she could even comprehend any of it. Another girl joined in, laughing that with Lin Sua's supposed intelligence, she probably couldn't even understand what they were saying. Lin Sua turned around, noting how quickly the girls had dropped their friendly facade, and mentally remarked on their sudden shift to a confrontational attitude. She met their taunts with a bold stare, responding with biting sarcasm that perhaps a human couldn't understand, barking. Her retort stunned the group, leaving them furious. Lin Rui yelled in disbelief, demanding to know if Lin Sua had just compared them to dogs and warning her that she would pay for her words. Two of the girls swiftly restrained their friend, urging her to calm down. They reminded her that Lin Sua wasn't worth the trouble and suggested they save their energy for the midterms, where they could truly prove their superiority. This remark brought midterms to Lin Sua's mind, and she recalled that the exams were indeed approaching. As Lin Rue acknowledged the midterms with a smug expression, she took the chance to taunt Lin Sua further. She sneered that, regardless of any effort, Lin Sua would always end up with the lowest scores. Unfazed, Lin Sua merely shrugged, remarking with dry humor that Lin Rue had rightfully earned her last place ranking. She then added sarcastically that if they didn't like it, they could keep it to themselves. Her indifferent response left the girls shocked, muttering among themselves about her audacity and lack of shame. Sensing an opportunity to provoke her further, Lin Rue sarcastically proposed a wager. She suggested that the person with the lowest score should run 100 laps around the school field in nothing but their underwear. The group laughed, confident that they had managed to unnerve Lin Sua, but to their surprise, Lin Sua responded with a confident grin. She coolly agreed to the challenge and added that achieving the top score didn't seem difficult to her. Surprised by Lin Sua's unexpected confidence, Lin Rue sneered and upped the ante. She mockingly promised that if Lin Sua actually secured first place, she would allow her a free slap across the face. At this, one of the other girls looked concerned and questioned if Lin Rue was truly willing to follow through on her daring claim. Lin Sua's eye sparkled as she replied with enthusiasm, urging Lin Rue not to make empty promises and to be prepared to keep her word. Lin Sua's intense gaze left Lin Rue unsettled, but she maintained her composure and assured her adversary, albeit through clenched teeth, that if Lin Sua did manage to come first, she would be allowed to do as she pleased. Lin Rue affirmed she would keep her word. Forcing aside any lingering doubts, Lin Rue reassured herself, quietly thinking that with Lin Sua's level of intelligence, there was no chance she'd top the entire grade. In a final taunt, she reminded Lin Sua of the wager's terms, adding slyly that if Lin Sua lost, she'd have to complete those 100 laps around the school in only her underwear. Lin Sua merely chuckled, dismissing the challenge with ease, remarking that running 100 laps naked was no big deal. Her nonchalant response left the girls around her stunned, prompting them to whisper in disbelief and question whether she was actually serious. Then, with a sly grin, she turned to them, adding that she would make sure the promised slap would be worthwhile if she won, reminding them that, after all, they were friends. With unshaken confidence, Lin Suo threw herself into her studies. Known for her exceptional memory, she had the ability to retain anything after seeing it just once, making it seem like mastering a few subjects would be effortless. However, after just 20 minutes, frustration began to creep in. Lin Suo found herself struggling with her studies, especially with math, muttering about how torturous the subject was. "Is this how it feels to be bogged down by problems?" she groaned to herself. The seemingly insurmountable nature of the math problems made her question why such a subject even existed, lamenting that if she kept struggling at this pace, she might never overcome it within the week. In her desperation, Lin Suo retrieved a mysterious pendant, wondering if it might possess undiscovered cheat sheet powers. Since the incident when she was drugged, the pendant hadn't displayed any signs of magic, causing her to question if she had merely stumbled into that strange realm by accident. Lin Suo pondered if a secret code or password might be required to access the mysterious realm linked to her pendant. She tried every silly phrase she could think of, from calling out King of the Tigers to chanting Kitty catches the mouse, and even a whimsical spirits of heaven and earth, "Come on, let's go." Yet, no reaction occurred, leaving her so frustrated that she nearly lost her composure, wondering aloud how in the world she could enter the space. At that moment, it finally responded. The pendant emitted a faint glow, and she was instantly transported back into the strange space. Checking her watch, she noted two critical details: that anyone observing her would merely see her sleeping, and that time in the space operated differently, a single hour outside equated to an entire day within. This discovery filled Lin Suo with elation. With the pendant's powers, she realized she could study at a pace 24 times faster than usual. Her confidence soared as she thought that next week's midterms were as good as conquered. Soon, the midterms arrived. Lin Ruo's gaze remained fixed on Lin Suo, her instincts hinting that something about her rival had changed ever since the engagement party. And now, that unshakable, confident smirk of Lin Suo suggested she might be hiding a secret advantage. When Lin Suo received her test from the teacher, she stared at it for a moment before collapsing into a deep sleep, leaving the entire class in shock. Her sister, Lin Ruo, seated behind her, almost choked on her surprise, questioning in disbelief if Lin Suo had genuinely fallen asleep. Indeed, Lin Suo was out cold just 3 seconds into the test, leaving her classmates wondering what kind of ploy she was up to. As the clock continued to tick, with a mere 15 minutes left, Lin Suo finally stirred, stretched, and took one glance at her paper before snapping to attention. She immediately began scribbling down answers with remarkable speed, prompting Lin Ruo, watching from across the room, to gape in astonishment. Lin Ruo scoffed at the sight, dismissing Lin Suo's efforts as pure panic. She muttered to herself that Lin Suo was likely guessing randomly, not suddenly capable of becoming a genius overnight. Smirking, Lin Ruo mentally prepared herself for victory, certain that Lin Suo would soon face the embarrassment of fulfilling her penalty of running the track in defeat.